Feed your gut, y'all. So you have probably heard about gut microbiome health and how it's so crucial and vital. I mean, 70% of your immune system is in your gut, so it's important that we feed these bacteria really well. And so one question that I get a lot as a vegan plant-based dietitian who is super passionate about the gut microbiome is, what foods are best for feeding my gut microbiome? Well, a couple different answers here. So the first part we're going to talk about are the foods that are going to be prebiotic. So prebiotic foods are going to have the fiber that these beneficial bacteria like to feed off of. And what happens in the gut is really cool. It's honestly like magic. It's fascinating. So the fibers that are in foods, such as in this apple here, are going to be converted in the colon to a short-chain fatty acid. And that short-chain fatty acid is indeed then what the bacteria like to feed off of. But it only happens with fibers that you find in plant-based foods. So it's not going to be in dairy or meat or any other type of food that's not a whole plant food that would have fiber. So when it comes to prebiotic foods, there's a couple superstars, if you will. Now, before I go into those, let's just say that the diversity of your diet and the diversity of the plants that you're eating is by far the number one most important thing. And it's actually the number one predictor in just overall good gut health is eating a lot of plants. But beyond that, there are some foods that definitely have certain kinds of fiber that are more beneficial potentially to those bacteria than others. And when we think about fiber, so fiber is not all the same. So when we think about fiber, it's like comparing and saying that every family is the same. Well, we all know that not all families are the same. You have the comedian, you have the artist, you have the creative, you have the one who's like super social in a family, right? Like there's all these different family personalities, but they're all very dynamic and they have these relationships with each other that are oftentimes pretty close. So the same is true with fiber. Not all fiber is going to be the same, and some have different properties, and that in turn is how the bacteria can relate to each other and interact. And you know, different populations of bacteria like different types of food and bacteria, and food and fiber is what I meant. So let's talk about some of the good, really great sources of prebiotic fiber, some of those superstars. The first one is an apple. So apples are going to be a great source of prebiotic fiber. It doesn't necessarily matter what type of apple. I get that question a lot. Really, again, all apples are going to be a fantastic source of prebiotic fiber. The second thing here, I actually have it left over, which is why it's in a container, is asparagus. So asparagus, again, has a great source of prebiotic fiber that really does well in the gut. I hesitated there because it's kind of smelling, so I think I need to hurry up and eat that. Maybe that'll be for a snack later on. And speaking of snacks, so when we look at the types of fiber in potatoes, the type of fiber that's most prominent is resistant starch. Now, resistant starch is going to be in cooked and cooled potatoes, and then also cooked and cooled rice. So what I like to do is, for the potatoes, I cook a bunch of these baby potatoes. I roast them at 425 degrees with olive oil after they've been washed, salt and pepper. I don't always use salt and pepper, but roast these potatoes and then put them in the fridge. Let them cool off, and as a snack, dip a baby potato in something like hummus or salsa or guacamole, and that potato, once it's been cooked and then cooled, is a fantastic source of resistant starch. Now, if you have any GI sensitivities, I would actually start with the resistant starches, so starting with adding fiber in through potatoes and then also something like rice. For resistant starch, prebiotic benefit can be helpful. And so the rice, again, cooked up some rice, it's left over, and so instead of heating this back up, what I'll do is just eat it, like let's say I have a curry, maybe I'll heat up the curry sauce but put it over the cold rice, or you know, maybe I'll do something heating up the substance of the meal, but then serving it over the cold rice, and that can be a really great way to get in that resistant starch as well. So far, just to kind of recap so far, we have apples, asparagus, cooked and cooled potatoes, cooked and cooled rice, and then bananas, dun, 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 are another fantastic source of prebiotic benefits. The greener the banana, so even if it was more green than this, but we all know the stages of bananas, the greener the banana, the more resistant starch. So that is always just something to keep in mind if you're really focused on resistant starch. Otherwise, bananas in general are a fantastic source of prebiotics. And then the other food that's actually two other foods that are probably my favorite are beans. So beans are going to have not only prebiotic fiber, but they have a lot of protein, they have a lot of iron. They're just fantastic, and they truly are magical because, again, remember, it changes to a short-chain fatty acid in the gut, which is what the gut feeds off of. And since 70% of your immune system is in your gut, you better be feeding these mouths well. And the other food, the last food, are oats. So oats are going to be, old-fashioned instant oat or steel cut are all going to be a great source of the prebiotic fiber. So it just kind of depends on what your flavor preference is, what your texture preference is. You will find a little bit more resistant starch in uncooked oats, so thinking like overnight oats or muesli, or like those little energy ball snacks that have an uncooked oat in them, would all be kind of great ways to think about including more of those foods in your life. So again, part of the reason that you want to diversify your diet with as many plant-based foods as possible is to help feed your gut microbiome. Now, your gut is essentially running the show, right? We know that there's a lot of links between the gut and the brain, so anxiety and depression, autism links are showing up now, a lot of links with guts and autoimmune, and then of course the stronger your gut function is, can help support sort of if you do have any underlying GI condition like Crohn's or ulcerative colitis or IBS being a really big one. So the gut is definitely something that I get super passionate about, and I could talk all day about it. But I will leave you here with the best foods that are prebiotic fibers that you should definitely try to include at least every day, some type of food that's a plant-based prebiotic food would be a good goal. So in the comments below, let me know what food is your favorite and which one do you plan on starting with. Subscribe to catch a new video every week, and then like it so I know that you enjoyed this wonderful content, and I will see you soon. Until next time, keep it kind.